Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athlete trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. For this story episode, we are talking about probably one of the most rewarding experiences as an athletic trainer.
It's probably one of the things that people say they love the most about being an athletic trainer.
100%. It is definitely one thing that I say is always my biggest thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that is when your athlete or your patient comes back from an injury and returns to whatever they're doing that they love.
I know. That is just the coolest experience to see that smile on their face to be back out there.
And to know that you're a part of it.
Oh, 100%.
So this was an episode request from our very own Jen, Gems from Jen. She asked about if we could do a story episode on the best athlete comeback moment. And you guys definitely had some great athlete comeback moments. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to break this into a two-parter, which honestly I was really trying not to do. But also thank you guys so much. I think we're having a great comeback moment because we were down for the count.
Yes. I
was down for the count last week. We were just talking to Joel from AT Chat about I don't think that I've ever had this much on my plate before. And I have never gotten sick from like being run down.
Yeah, true.
But that is definitely what is happening right now. So
lack of sleep and a lot of items to do.
Yeah, lots of things on our plate. So thank you for bearing with us. And sorry there's no episode last week, but we're back.
We're making it up with a two-parter.
Two-parter. So this first one is from Jen, and it's a really good one.
Oh, sweet.
You want to read it?
Yes.
It's a good long one too.
Yes. Jen says, "This happened this past soccer season and was one of the shining moments I'll always remember. We're playing a game with one of the toughest teams in the region. It's us, them, and one other team vying for first place. I'm sitting on my golf cart watching a very good game when our leading scorer goes and challenges one of their players and both strike the ball at exactly the same time. That is the worst. My player immediately grabs his ankle and goes down.
Oh, man.
He's saying nothing but my name. I get him off the field, get him over to the table, and begin the evaluation. His ankle is immediately swollen on both sides. I mean, huge. I'm thinking, oh my God, this kid has broken his leg. I get on the phone with our team doc to see if he wants to see him in clinic now or if he wants him to go to the emergency department for x-rays and evaluation. Doc says emergency department. I can't go because I'm a solo practitioner. The game is still going on and I have another game after this one. Luckily, my head lacrosse coach, who is a star, says he'll take him. Interesting asides here. First, apparently it is not uncommon for a non-native speaker of English to lose their ability to speak when they are in pain or upset.
That's kind of crazy.
I know.
But it kind of not that I've had anyone do that, but like I could totally picture that because honestly, even people who like if English is their first language, like even some of them can't speak.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So I could imagine like you go back to whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, 100%. This kid is Brazilian. Second, this injury provided me for one of the most beautiful moments in sports.
I love this part.
We have 14 to 15 Brazilians on our team, as I've said before, and they have formed a family. None of them knew each other before they got to school, but it was enough just for them all to be Brazilian. That's awesome. That's really cool. Anyway, while I'm on the phone with our doc, the injured athlete is lying on the table. Every single Brazilian not in the game was around the table with a hand on him, supporting and reassuring him. Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he goes to the hospital, gets x-rays, shows no break. Wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unconvinced because of the amount of swelling. We start contrast baths immediately to try to get the swelling down so we can get a better x-ray. After 10 days, we definitely determined that there were no broken bones, just a sprain of multiple ligaments. Here's the problem. Playoffs begin October 25th, with the regional final being October 29th. I sat and talked with the athlete and asked how he wanted to proceed. We decided together that we would accelerate the rehab as much as was safe, with the goal of being able to play in the regional final game, and then in the national tournament beginning 25 days from injury to initial return to play. It was going to be a challenge, to say the least. I have never worked with an athlete who had more of a drive to return, who worked harder, who was more positive. We were coming to the week of playoffs, and he still wasn't practicing.
Oof, that's scary.
I know. That is a dicey situation. He wasn't ready. We were doing some ball work, some movement with taping, but it wasn't going well. It didn't look good. Then one night after practice, he sends me a video of him taking shots on goal. It was practically perfect.
Oh my gosh.
His form was good. He wasn't limping. His planting was strong. His injury was on the plant leg. Ooh, even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Talked with his coach, with him, and with the doctor. We employed the red jersey philosophy where no one was able to touch him during practice. His coach and I agreed that he would only play 30 minutes in the final. We were set for the weekend. Weather here at the end of October is miserable, and it never fails to rain during soccer playoffs.
Really fast going back. Isn't it nice when the coaches and you and the athlete are all on the same page?
Oh,
like,
that's ideal.
It's just like it all came together.
I feel like that, like especially with like a big contributor, like it could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Either the coaches are so like, yeah, whatever, I just need them,
right,
or they're like really on the other side and try to like not be on the same page as much.
Right.
So it could be hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
So the stage is set for the game. The game ended after 120 minutes, 72 of which we played man down. Ooh,
wow.
That is tough. We won in penalty kicks. Wow, that's crazy. And still win while playing 72 minutes man down. That's crazy. My player ended up playing 60 minutes. Of course. I mean, that's how intense, like, you kind of see that happening.
Right.
On to nationals. Another 7 days of hard work and rehab, and then we all took the trip for the national tournament. If we won the first game, we were guaranteed to stay in the tournament until Sunday. First game was Tuesday. Oh, wow, that's exciting. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We won the first game, but my player wasn't super happy because he hadn't scored since he'd been, quote-unquote, back to playing. Mind you, he was still only about 80 to 90% of where he was pre-injury.
That's tough.
Yeah. National semifinal game, and we were tied with about 8 minutes left to go in the game. The ball is crossed, my athlete volleys it and scores. He'd achieved his goal. After doing the typical soccer celebration thing, he runs past his teammates and hugs me. Oh my goodness. It was amazing. I always feel a certain satisfaction when an injured athlete returns to play, but this one was special.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was really special. That's awesome. Now, just to ward off the naysayers for letting him back to play before he was 100%, the remaining 10 to 20% were more finesse playing and technique. He felt 100% ready to play, and we had the support of the physician who cleared him and his coach. It was a great display of hard work by the athlete, support from the team, and probably some divine intervention.
Okay, episode done. That's like all we need.
That's crazy. And also, too, to the point of the naysayers, like, again, when you're making a return to play decision, right, there's a lot that goes into that decision, not necessarily if someone's 100% or not. You know, sometimes it's what's important for the athlete. Like, one consideration is, like, what if a scholarship's riding on this kid? Like, his one chance to, like, get a, education paid for, like, it's kind of hard to take that opportunity away. Like, so. There's
also the argument that when are you ever at 100% in the middle of season?
Especially in athletics.
As an athlete, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that decision than just feeling 100%.
Right. That is something that I've actually been thinking about a lot lately, is like, you never know what people are making decisions on.
Yeah.
And you can't really judge someone from the outside, because you don't have their knowledge of whatever decision they're making.
100%.
I feel like that's like really been on my mind the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
So one of the questions that I asked on our Instagram was, has anyone come back from an injury, scored a goal or whatever in their sport, and said it was because of you? And we got some love on this question.
Oh, that's awesome.
First, 71% of people said yes. So 71% of people, I am so happy for you. That is like literally one of the best feelings, because not only does the athlete like recognize, not only does the athlete return to play, get like their goal, whatever they are doing, but in that crazy, happy, celebratory moment, like they're thinking about the credit and work that you did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
with them. Obviously they did the rehab, but like.
Yeah. I mean, like thinking about that question, I mean, I could answer probably yes to that. Like, I feel like I have had a lot of athletes do that, but also too, like, I don't know, like me being a 2 and like my personality, like I can't necessarily like, I have a hard time accepting that. So a lot of times just my answer is, well, they'll say like, thank you and stuff. I'm like, look, your body did it. Like I just helped. Like,
like you guided them.
Yeah. I mean that's what I say. I just say, look, your body was going to heal how it heals. Your body has all the tools to do it. Basically, I just helped guide it, and help it along. So,
right.
But yeah, it is such a nice feeling to have that. Again, like that is the biggest thank you. Like people talk about athletic training being a thankless job, and for the most part, right, it kind of is. But these are always the biggest thank yous. Like,
but it really is. Like, I've had a coach who has turned around after someone hit a home run. They turned around and looked at me.
Yeah.
And was like, that was because of you.
Yeah. That's
and like
cool.
For the coach to say that in that moment, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's just a different way that they say thank you. It's like you were saying, like a thankless job. Sometimes those thank yous go way far.
100%.
Way far.
My favorite one are the ones like when they're in warm-ups and stuff and they're like, this one's for you. And then like they shoot it and then they totally miss. I'm like, and then they look at you and like, I'm like, thanks, man.
Actually, this first one, I was totally thinking that. Lynsey D says, I love it when the athlete requests that you're there watching and then they go do something great, like a score, a touchdown, a pinned opponent. I've been in the field for over 15 years, so I have many favorites, but one in particular is one of my wrestlers who I was working with. It was his first match back, and when he pinned the guy, he turned and pointed at me. It was a very sweet gesture of appreciation.
That's pretty cool.
But I was totally thinking that, like, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for you.
Yeah.
And then they totally like
whiff or totally miss it. I'm like, and then you give them that look like, bro. And they're like, I don't know. One more. Give me one more. This one.
It's just fun.
It is fun.
It's so fun.
Again, that is the biggest thank you.
It is.
Literally, it's the kiddos. Mm-hmm. We do it for the kids.
Okay, I really think you'll like this next one.
All right, this one's by Anonymous. I had an athlete text me and thank me for helping her post senior year with her knee. She is thankful she can chase her kids. Aw, that's really nice.
Right. And we talk about this, I feel like not as much on the podcast, but I think in life we talk about like, yes, we're trying to get you through your sport, but we're also trying to get you through life.
Yes.
And help you make the decisions that you will not regret.
Yes.
When you are trying to decide if you need a knee replacement.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've had that before where I've had it was going to be her senior year. She was a pole vaulter. Mm-hmm. She already had knee surgery. I can't remember if she re-injured it or if she just started getting knee pain and it was just persistent. And we sent her back to her surgeon, her initial surgeon, and they basically looked at her knee and like, bro, like, if you keep going, you're going to need a knee replacement. She wasn't even, like, she's a senior in college.
Oh.
So she's not even at 30. And her job, or what she was looking at, is she wanted to be a surgical PA. So she's going to be on her feet.
Right.
I'm like, so luckily she kind of, at that point, she kind of knew. She was kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it is navigating that because like
Mm-hmm.
some athletes, you know, they don't, as a young adult, it's really hard to see the future like that.
Yeah.
And to kind of think like, yeah, like there are going to be things after sport
Mm-hmm.
that I would eventually like to do,
Mm-hmm.
but you just don't see it at that time as being that important.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, well, as a young adult, you feel fine. Yeah, but then when you wake up and you're 31 and everything hurts, you know.
Yeah, 31.
But, yeah, no, it's true. Like, that's definitely something that crosses my mind when I'm managing these injuries, is just trying to also put them in the best position for later.
Mm-hmm.
Because last thing is, you know, we always hear it from the coaches nowadays. They always come back, oh, yeah, this still hurts when I do this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's what we're trying to prevent that nowadays. You know, yeah.
So we also have one from Zoe H. She says, in the winter, I was assigned to swim and dive, so I traveled with them on their training trip, weekend meets, and conference champs. I had a swimmer who tore his labrum in his shoulder mid-season. We rehabbed hard for the rest of the season, modified practice, basically did everything we could to get him through the season. When he made finals in his event at conference championships, he gave me a shout out when they did swimmer introductions before the race.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
I've never even heard of that. That's really cool. He did need surgery after the season after the season ended, and I actually got to observe it.
Sweet.
I worked very closely with him, and I did keep in touch with him after I finished as a GA and he finished out his swim career.
Oh,
there.
that's cool. That's really neat.
So yeah, that just goes to show you another way of people would thank their ATs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's awesome.
That's always like, you know, when you're listening to the post-game interviews and you're like, say athletic trainer, say athletic trainer.
I know. I feel like, man, I'm trying to think, like, yeah, like anytime like someone like yeah, and like those high profile sports, right, post interview, are always hoping like, are they gonna say the AT?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, shoot, it was last year during the Super Bowl. Didn't like Patrick Mahomes like shout
I think
out?
he did.
Yeah.
But also there was that really awesome picture of him going around with Rick Burkholder of just Mahomes putting his head on him.
Yeah.
Just because like that just shows you when athletes are hurt, a lot of times ATs are
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to talk about soccer celebration?
Yes, this one's by Evan J. I did have a 5th-year soccer athlete break his ankle on the last regular season game. They took him for x-rays in the middle of the game, so I wasn't there with him when they broke the news. He was devastated for several days, but luckily his teammates were able to help him get through it. The same athlete who broke his ankle at the end of the season had a hamstring strain at the beginning of the season. Oof. We had many ups and downs throughout the rehab. When he finally came back, he got an assist, then came over to the bench and celebrated with me. It was probably the best moment in my young career. That's pretty cool.
Isn't that great?
That's cool.
I can picture
a soccer celebration.
No, I'm just trying to I can picture some of my athletes' best comebacks that they like came over or like whatever. I can still picture them.
It's not necessarily like a comeback, but like just the rapport
Mm-hmm.
is usually one of my basketball guys, like, and like our stadiums, like our gym, like it's not like super crowded in there, so like you could usually pick up our bench pretty easily, and like anything that kind of happens on the court, I will like if it's like something funny or awkward, my one of my men's basketball guys will immediately look at me and will just start to smile, like, or if something just crazy happens, and we just have that rapport.
I mean, honestly, That's what a lot of people love about athletic training.
Yeah.
And these comeback moments just like, oh, they just scream that.
Yeah, for sure.
We have one more in this little section. Demi M says, I had a men's lacrosse player in our second game of the season who checked a kid out of bounds so hard he broke his own clavicle.
Ooh.
I know.
Dang, that's so unlucky.
Yeah, seriously. He had surgery the next week, and we started rehabbing him right away. His doc wasn't super positive, so we made sure to remind him of our optimistic timeline, and that helped him stay mentally tough.
Nice.
Physically, we worked elbow down at first, and as his restrictions were lifted, we just kept giving him more. I think overall from surgery to fully returning was just under 3 months. Record timing to come back. When he scored in the playoffs, he came off the field and thanked both me and my athletic training student.
Nice. That's awesome.
Which I really liked this because I feel like as a student, sometimes you do get really great opportunities to work specifically with like one person over a period of time. But I feel like, and even then, I feel like sometimes athletes don't notice that the student did a lot of the work.
True.
Over the athletic trainer just because name wise.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really sweet that the athlete actually thanked both.
I know. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. I can think of plenty of football athletes this last season who actually did thank the students who worked a lot with them.
Well, I mean, I could definitely see that with being football too. Like, there's so many bodies.
Right.
And, you know, there's only 2 of you guys, and then you pair in, like, you have a lot of student help. So they're for sure getting exposure and having a lot more, like, hands-on than, like, say, like any other kind of setting or sport. Mm-hmm. So I could see that for sure. Mm-hmm. Which is cool. That's a cool experience as a student.
One of the next question that I asked on our Instagram was, what's the longest period of time you've had an athlete out from their sport? This one I made a slider. So the average answer was around 1 season.
Okay.
But we did have quite a bit of people who have had athletes who have been out for multiple seasons.
Oh, okay. That's crazy.
Which is just kind of very sucky.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, yeah, that just really kind of like, that's really hard to see the end goal.
Right.
For the athlete.
Right. This first one's anonymous, so they said, ongoing 2-ish years, Oof. I had a football athlete lacerate his kidney during football camp and then come back to practice for the season. He then broke his leg at practice by jumping up for a ball and landing. He rehabbed back for baseball and then tore his ACL while playing basketball during baseball practice for fun. As he was rehabbing to be back for baseball, he tore his meniscus. But we're waiting till after baseball season to fix it, so hopefully we can get through that. Mind you, this was his freshman into sophomore year now, and he's a very talented kid who could play college baseball. When he came back from the kidney, it was nothing special. After breaking his leg, it was the best feeling ever for him to return. This ACL return will be one to remember, and then hopefully he can manage to stay healthy.
Goodness, I hope so.
I know,
that
seriously.
poor kid.
What a journey.
Seriously. That's always tough.
And it sounds like it's only his first 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, for me, like, it was tough because working track, you don't see a lot of, like, you don't get a lot of torn ACLs.
Right.
Like, I mean, you do get them, of course. Mm-hmm. Right? It can happen. Mm-hmm. And we did have one on my squad. Mm-hmm. Same thing. We actually had a ruptured Achilles too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
we did.
I remember that. So this was like when I'm going to tell the ruptured Achilles story really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't remember the story, but I remember, I must have been a student,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Randy came home and was like, oh, we had a ruptured Achilles today. And I was like, all right, I need to know what you did start to finish. Like, tell me every detail because I want to know. Like, I want to learn so much from it. Because I thought that I would never see that.
Yeah.
And I've only seen one.
Yeah.
Luckily.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Got you. But yeah, like in track, it just, you don't see it like, they're like, their kind of injuries are like their like horrific injuries are kind of different. Like if you tell a cross country runner they have a stress fracture, like that's their season. That's season ending.
Mm-hmm. You had a lot of those
for the most part. Yeah,
you had a lot of those.
So like we didn't get like a ton of stuff like that. And then as a grad assistant, you're always like in an awkward spot because like summer, technically, I'm not necessarily working.
Oh, right.
So it's like I don't really get to see a ton of follow up. So that part was kind of weird. But yeah. So yeah, I feel like I'm trying to think like, man, I haven't had a ton of those.
I mean, but that was like 6 plus years ago.
I think one that stands out for sure is my women's soccer team.
Okay, I was just about to say, like, you had to have one in women's soccer.
I've had with my women's soccer team, we had a torn ACL during our year back from COVID, and then, helped rehab her to the next year, and finally got to see her play a little bit. And when, like, it was so funny, I still remember. So she was from England, so like during the summer, like she did go home for a period. So there was some time where she was working out on her own and stuff. So when she came back, we kind of saw where she was at, and we still needed a little more work, so we kept kind of going there. But man, I remember that first game, she was so nervous. She was like in tears.
Oh.
And then after the game, like after her like 2 minutes, because like when we first started, like, hey, she was only like, hey, you get like 2 minutes.
Right.
And oh my gosh, afterwards she was in tears, like she was so happy, and then she was like, I didn't do anything. So I had to tell her like, hello, you played in a collegiate soccer game for the first time in a year.
Oh my gosh.
And you were fine.
Right.
Like you came out fine.
Right.
And like her English accent was adorable, and like she was in tears, so it was a cool moment. And then I also had, again, from that same season before, another torn ACL who transferred, and she would periodically text me updates.
Oh, that's nice.
And then she texted me when she finally returned to play. She just texted me, and she was like, hey, like, I just wanted to let you know, like, I've been fully cleared, and I'm going to be playing.
That is so awesome.
And I was like, wow, that's really dope. Good for you.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, so... And now I'm going to have, I have one coming up with one of my men's basketball guys just tore his ACL. So so within the next 2 years, seeing him back on the court. Because like he's going to redshirt the next year. So he won't have a season.
Got it.
But yeah.
I feel like when I think of return to plays, I think of like the ones that like are memorable for me. There's one that's like super memorable that I've shared on the podcast before. But I feel like in general, the ones that I remember, or not that I remember, the ones that I'm just happy to see are concussion return to plays.
Yeah.
Even though they're not like that long, I feel like they are long to the athlete.
Oh, for sure.
And, we're not doing an insane amount of rehab with them necessarily. Like it's not like they're not even like an ankle sprain where you're doing like a lot of exercises. Like I think because it's different, like I've worked with some people on like reaction time or like balance post concussion or stuff like that. So I think just like because it's different, I think it, and because it's so foreign for the athlete a lot of times.
Well, and also too, it's not like a thing that you can necessarily see.
Right.
All right. It's not like you could see like you see swelling, whereas this, you don't necessarily see it. It's just how they feel. So sometimes I feel like the athlete just feels like, oh, like this is like, I'm out. This is dumb. So you're right.
Right. Or even like the long-term concussions. Those ones are like really cool to watch come back.
Oh, for sure. That's so rewarding to see.
Or even just come back to feeling themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Yeah.
When they come back and they're like, I actually feel good.
I sat through class and didn't feel dizzy. Yeah, that one's always rewarding.
So this next one is anonymous, and one of their favorite injuries to watch return to play is a partial tear rectus femoris from soccer.
Interesting.
There was an emphasis on strengthening quad and hip flexor with also glute strengthening. It happened in August, and the recovery was the entire season, so trying to keep their spirits up through the season was tough. The timeline was 8 weeks, so we were able to get him back in a game for a few minutes. I was cheering very loud and proud that game he went back. I just kept thinking, I did that. But 2 weeks following, when he was training with no more restrictions, he had pain again. It took him out for the remainder of the training/games, including the championships. It was hard for him, but he understood if we focused more on rehabilitation and strengthening, he will be even better for next fall.
Nice. That's true.
I think that we've talked about this before in the podcast, but like the whole cheering thing, like how much are you cheering versus how much are you being an athletic trainer? I mean, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, but one of my favorite return to plays was a baseball athlete who returned as I had left for a different job.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to watch as my new team played my old team in playoffs, which made me way more sad than I expected it to.
Yeah.
And so I had to watch him return to play for a very big play and super exciting play as I was standing in the opposite dugout.
Mm-hmm.
And that was heart-wrenching in itself. So there is, this next one is just a really, really cool idea that I think Bryce A, he came up with his own spin on something that one of his preceptors did. And it's a surgery return to play helmet.
Oh, okay.
So he said, I have a post-surgery return to play helmet. The helmet is from my university. And whenever I have an athlete have surgery, I have them sign and date the helmet on the day of their first game back.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, first of all, something to look forward to, and two, something that he can keep.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. He sent me a video of it. Not going to share that because it has names on it, but really, really cool. And then I asked him where he got the idea. And he said one of my preceptors would get his athletes a small axe handle when his post-surgeries were cleared, because our mascot was the Lumberjacks. And I had the helmet and I didn't really know what to do with it. And then I just thought of the idea and now my kids love it.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It's totally perfect. I love that.
I like that idea. Oh man, now I kind of want to steal that idea.
Hey, that's the whole point, like inspiration, right?
That's what athletic training is.
Mm-hmm.
At least admin wise.
I mean, I got my inspiration for my student gifts.
Yeah, you did.
From someone on the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Ah, man, that's a good idea. I really like that.
And he's got a football helmet.
Should have him sign the wall. I don't think.
I'm sure your admin would love that.
I'm sure the school would love that so much. Hey, you know what? Just not to change the subject, but one of my athletes got me a basketball hoop to throw tape ends into.
Yes, I know.
That just made me think of the wall. Yeah, okay. But I should have him
sign
the
hoop. Basketball hoop.
But it's kind of small, so I feel like
get a big one.
I could see that just ending badly. If I had a real basketball hoop in there, I could just see the guys for sure messing around with it.
Oh, yeah, that's what it's for.
That's a good idea. Sign the basketball hoop.
Yeah, but then it's just one sport. I feel like you have to have something a little more inclusive.
Yeah, true.
Too bad crutches don't have enough space. Oh, what did I put? One of my athletes broke his arm, and I signed the cast. Oh, I think I put I heart my AT.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Like right on his thumb.
Oh my god, that's funny. That's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe I should do like a ball from each sport.
You could.
Interesting.
You just have to have a place to put them.
Interesting thoughts.
Okay.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yeah. You want to read this next one from Arika?
This one's by Arika S. Last year, January, one of my high school basketball players dislocated his ankle at a home game. We got him taken care of and got him to the hospital where they reduced his ankle back. He subsequently got surgery to repair the Salter Harris 2 fracture
Wow.
on his fibula and moved his growth plate back to the correct spot on his tibia.
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot that happened.
This is helpful for BOC. The only way that I remember Salter Harris fractures are because every time I see him, I'm like, that's our last name. Like, we should know. If someone ever quizzes me on the Salter Harris fracture, I should really know what it is. And it's a fracture to your growth plate. So there we go.
Of varying degrees. There are different grades.
There are different grades, but it's got to do with the growth plate.
Yes, it does.
So now you will never forget when you're taking your BOC, or if someone just quizzes you, for our seasoned athletic trainers who never have to take the BOC again, something to look forward to.
Hey, well, hold on. Some of them might choose to do so than CEUs. That is an option, by the way. You can do that.
But
if you
never
wanted to.
have to.
I don't know who anyone would want to voluntarily take the BOC again.
Let us know if you know anyone who has. Let us know. I'd be intrigued.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
No thanks.
So Arika continues with, I did all of his rehab for 4 months. We were anticipating a longer rehab period, but he was able to do summer football just like everyone else. When I saw him get in the game for the first time since January, it hit me hard. I was so proud of him for everything he had overcome. He had a terrific football season and is doing well in varsity basketball. He is now getting looked at by D1 colleges for football. He has grown so much over the last year. This will stay in my memory forever. Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, something weird that happened today that just reminded me of that is I was talking to one of my athletes who just signed with a big name school, and I was like, "Oh, let me know if you ever meet this kid who he was like one of my athletes. He signed with that school and like blah blah blah." And he goes, "Oh, are you talking about this kid?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, he graduated." And I was like, "What do you mean he graduated?" And he was like, "He graduated like a year or two ago."
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "No, he just signed." And I realized, no, I have not worked high school for several years.
Yeah.
So therefore, this kid graduated.
Yeah.
Went to the school for 4 years, and then now is like out from the school for like a year or two.
Oh.
And I'm like, wow, how did I, like, in my head, there was no way. Like, I was like, this kid just graduated high school.
Yeah.
Nope.
They grow up so fast.
Really, they do.
They really do, by the way. That basketball player that I talked about, the rapport, even the last year, the amount of growth that I've seen from him has been insane.
That's really
He's
cool.
really emerged into a real leader.
Oh, I like that.
It has been,
I like that.
It has been awesome. He actually today, he was like, because I always tape him for basketball, and he was like, sign my tape. And I was going to do it. He was like, our last time, when it's our last game. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
yeah,
that's really sweet.
Yeah, he's gonna get sentimental. I know it.
Oh,
his last game, he's probably gonna cry. Because he said that.
That's funny. I had a football player who injured his ankle so bad, and honestly, like, he took it so hard, and I think watching him return was really exciting, just because, like, even though like we were modifying things, so he was still able to like participate some, I think just because of the mental toll it took on him.
Of course.
I think seeing him return for that was really rewarding.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
You want to read this next one?
Yes, this one's by Savannah B. I had a high school junior who had never completed a season of football due to injuries. Shattered nose, and then tore all of the tendons in his thumb.
Oh, gosh.
Ouch. That sounds terrible.
Mm-hmm.
During the second scrimmage of the year, he was tackled from the front and the back at the same time.
Oh, gosh.
My initial thought was some ligament injury. The athlete was calm, cool, and collected, just saying he had pain on the lateral head of the fibula. I did fracture testing on the field, and it was negative. I did on-field ligamental testing, and it was negative. He was assisted off the field without putting weight on it. Once he was on the sideline table, I reevaluated again, and even looked at a patellar injury. It all came back negative. He then started to feel lightheaded, so we put him in a recovery position and gave him pickle juice to provide electrolytes.
Which, by the way, fun fact, you guys maybe already know this. Probably you already know this, but I learned that pickle juice actually works because of the vinegar or whatever in it, that you only actually have to take a swish of the pickle juice. Like, you don't actually have to ingest it.
Yeah.
Like, it just actually has to...
It absorbs through the lining of the mouth.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And it just changes, like, a process of the brain. It doesn't, provide, quote-unquote, electrolytes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like, this is insane. You just basically have to retell your brain like just different signals. And I wish I had you can look it up. It's fancier than what I'm saying.
To piggyback off of that fun fact, you could also do the same thing with carbohydrates, like a carbohydrate drink.
Oh, really?
If they're too nauseous and can't necessarily ingest, you could just have them almost like a carbohydrate mouthwash and just spit it out. The lining of the mouth will still absorb some of it.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Right? Nice little trick.
Mm-hmm.
Savannah continued with, we also iced for the spot he was indicating hurt, but only hurt a 6 out of 10. After 15 minutes, there was slight edema on the medial joint line. Parents wanted to take him to the emergency room. I wrapped him in an ACE wrap with ice for the road. He wanted to sit and watch the rest of the scrimmage. And then he crutched his way to the car to go. The ER did the same testing I did and came to the same results I did. They did an x-ray and said nothing appeared out of sorts and chalked it up to a contusion. They sent him home in a straight leg brace. The next day, his mom gets a call at 9 a.m. to head back to the ER immediately. A second set of eyes got to look at the x-ray and indicated a small fracture to the fibula and a fracture of the femur.
Fun.
They placed him in a full leg cast for 4 weeks. When they first said it was a fracture, I was quite literally sick to my stomach. I thought I failed him as an AT and felt even worse because this is my first year certified. My support system helped me to realize that I did everything I knew to do, and even the doctors missed it at first. His goal was to make it to the town rivalry game. I had doubts, but he was determined. Once he was out of the cast, we hit the ground running with rehab. He regained full range of motion within a week and was fully rehabilitated and cleared 8 weeks after the initial injury.
Wow.
4 weeks casted and 4 weeks of rehab. Wow, that's awesome. He was successfully able to play the last 2 games of the season with a brace on for added protection. We sent a picture to his mom right before the game with him wrapped in bubble wrap. Although he was a little rusty, he still played great and also had a successful basketball season.
Which, by the way, I do have that picture, and she gave me permission to post it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
On our episode thread in our Facebook group. So that's facebook.com/group/AT Corner Podcast. Anyway, keep going.
That's really cool. If we are being completely honest, I cried to see him return. I had an athlete who would have had a season-ending injury, but they worked their butt off in rehab and got cleared for the end of the season. When that athlete scored for the first time, it genuinely brought me to tears. All their hard work paid off, and it felt like a parent whose child achieved everything they set their mind to. Oh, that's really nice.
I know, like that
that's
bond.
Really cool. Uh-huh.
Like, you could just feel it.
Also, again, another highlight for ATs having a support system and having mentors. Another highlight right there.
You know, I was going to come back to that because we have given some mini talks on this and making mistakes and being wrong, but I feel like when even hearing all that, like it does not change the fact, like doesn't change how you feel.
Yeah.
But it does help when other people are wrong too.
It does, but also the perspective does kind of help remind you that, we're all trying our best.
Right.
We're all, everything you did, right, came up with those results, right? And honestly, I'm pretty sure no amount of clinical testing was going to find those fractures. And that's why we send for the imaging.
Yeah. If we could survive without imaging, then our jobs would be a lot different.
Yeah, we'd be rich. If we could do our jobs without imaging, we'd be rich.
Right.
But so I mean, that's why you send for the imaging.
Right.
Hey, something's not adding up.
Right.
So
we do have a lot left, but I think what we could do is we'll just split this into a part 2. But part 2 is going to be a little bit different. So part 2 will also have a few more stories about some like really exciting, like quote unquote, like success stories or like good comeback stories. But we're also going to talk about the opposite of like when an athlete can't play for the rest of the season, or if they can't return at all. We're going to talk about those, and we're also going to talk about how to have that conversation, whether it's like you can't, like you're done, or done for the season. We got a lot of good tips about that, and it's going to be different for each person, and I'm interested to hear what you say versus what I say too, because I think that we're going to be different.
Yeah, of course.
But we are going to talk about that. So, one, if you have anything to submit for next week's episode, anything goes within that. If you are new, we do every other episode as education or story. So this one was a story episode. Next week, we are going back to our education before we come back to part 2 for this. And then, lastly, we are working with MedBridge, and we have CUs, not only on this podcast, but MedBridge has CUs. So make sure you check out the show notes for links and our code ATCorner, which will get you $150 off a subscription for MedBridge if you're interested in on-demand CUs. So I think that's all of my fine print.
Sweet.
Super excited for part 2.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging on to wait for this episode. And that's all I got.
Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.